Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play by play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by an impact fee technician who lists their favourite movie as A Nightmare on Elm Street and favourite TV show as Golden Girls. Welcome to the show, Robin to my Batman, Karina Maybe.
Hello. I'm trying not to shake this now because you just scolded me like a 5-year-old. So I'm gonna carefully drink my fucking drink.
We need to get you one of those like 6-foot long straws so you can just put the cup down and then
Don't say that into the universe because Stanley Cup might fucking take that idea. They've taken like everything. They even have a hydro flask now, or well, that's a different company, but they have like a flask now that like it comes with like a little crossbody thing and you can strap it to yourself and it doesn't like bang you when you're running.
That seems
And
unnecessary.
it's probably like $50 or something because Stanley cups are just like outrageous. Whereas I have like my $5 cup I got from Michael's that I like decorated myself.
You goof.
Anyway, hello.
So this week we are once again refreshing ourselves on an older movie as we prepare for another entry into the same franchise. Today we return to the Fox MCU as we rewatch Deadpool in anticipation of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes. Woo, woo.
So this one is a 2016 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. It's a spin-off from the X-Men Fox movies, following Wade Wilson as he hunts the man who gave him mutant abilities and a scarred physical appearance that transforms him into the anti-hero known as the Merc with a Mouth, aka Deadpool. Before we dig into the cast and refreshing everything, when did you first watch this and what did you initially think and what did you think now rewatching it?
So I watched this when it came out. I went to the theaters. I was taken to the theaters and I believe it was the first one. Yeah, I think it was the first one. I actually have little baby tiny Deadpools. One is like, yeah, he sits down. He's like yay big, probably like the size of like a GI Joe or like the little tiny army men. And yeah, one of them is him sitting down, like coloring the Francis picture, and then the other one is him just like laying down like this. There's somewhere on my like dresser over there. I just thought of that when we were doing this. But yeah, I saw this opening weekend back in 2016 or 20 whatever. Um, and yeah, I knew nothing about Deadpool, to be completely honest, other than the fact that like he was a kind of like a vigilante, like he wasn't good or bad, he just kind of was in it for himself. And he liked chimichangas, and I was like, all right, well, that sounds like a fun time, and somehow he fit into the X-Men universe. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go for it. And I ended up falling in love with the whole franchise now. I love it. Deadpool's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think when I first saw it would have been in cinemas. I'm pretty sure I saw a preview for it, and I loved going in there not really knowing anything about the Deadpool character, like not reading the comics or anything. But as soon as he sort of kicks off the movie and it's very satirical, very sort of fourth wall breaking, I'm like, okay, this has a totally different tone from anything else we'd previously gotten. Like there were no sort of fourth wall breaking things in any of the MCU or even the Fox movies at the time. They were all very, very serious, like not jokey at all. They were, especially the X-Men ones, there was no sort of comedy elements to it. It was all very serious, very sort of heady themes on race and racism and stuff like that. Whereas this one come in and it was like, I'm just a wise.
Yeah, 100%. And it's wonderful. The casting was wonderful. The storyline was great. I think that, there was so many ways that this could have gone wrong. We've seen so many superhero movies that have not been like MCU like directly, that have just gone completely shit. And so I'm glad that it did so well, because it's really enjoyable and really fun.
Well, even when you look at Ryan Reynolds, who plays Deadpool in this, the previous movie, like superhero movies that he'd done that had that sort of comedic tone, like Green Lantern, they were flops. So,
Yeah,
like, yeah, incorporating comedy into this was a big risk, but I think it paid off because it clearly paid off because it has filtered through into the MCU moving forward. Like we've had the She-Hulk one, which was very sort of fourth wall breaking
hmm
and funny. Uh, the, the subsequent Deadpools, and there's another one that's sort of quite fourth. The Spider-Man ones have a bit more comedy and stuff, but not sort of fourth wall breaking. But like it's there, the comedic
yeah.
tone, and this the
And also,
self-referential, like self-deprementing tone is
yeah,
in the MCU now.
right. And then what's really weird too is like this is not like, even though this was the first Deadpool movie, this was not the first thing. This was not the first encounter we had with Deadpool.
Mhm.
And the previous encounter with him was not very promising for me to
It
them
was a
make
totally different character,
Deadpool.
really.
Yeah, and for me, I was like, "There's no way that that could be like the same superhero slash character or whatever," because his previous role was just so different and not appealing. And I'm like, eh. But then we got this, and I go, "Oh, it's two totally different sides of everything, I guess."
Yeah, like he first appeared in X-Men Origins Wolverine,
Hmm.
and had like his mouth was sewn shut, so
Yeah,
he had no real character. He was just a dude in the
yeah, it was really
background
weird.
that couldn't die. Essentially, it was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. So yeah, for
Yeah,
them to totally flip the script on that and make him a much more outlandish, fun character, which I believe is much more in line with the comic tone of the
yeah,
Deadpool character, I thought it was a great choice.
absolutely.
And makes me excited to see that carry over into Deadpool and Wolverine. Having rewatched this, I really hope that a lot of this tone and elements carry over, but I'm also worried that they won't.
Yeah, with Disney kind of owning those rights and stuff like that, I'm glad that it's getting an R rating. Like I was
That
really
makes it
worried that
that makes me a little bit less concerned, but I'm still like, how much of like
how far can we
particularly the
push
sort
this?
of like I think the violence will carry over.
Yeah, but the
Um
crude kind of comments.
I'm thinking, yeah, the sexual
Yeah.
elements, the allusions to like masturbation and pegging and all of those sort of kink elements, I'm not sure they're
Yeah.
going to carry over.
Yeah, it's going to be very different. Like I said, I was really nervous when Disney got into that whole thing and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to allow them to do a Deadpool movie. Yeah, like this is going to happen." And then they were like, "We're going to give it an R rating. Like that's going to be allowed." And I go, "Well, that's a great element for that because I don't think you could do a Deadpool movie and have it be like PG-13
Not anymore,
as
no.
it is like when it comes on TV, it is like half that film gets fucking cut out, or you miss so many different like good punchlines because they have to edit it over. So yeah, it just would not have been the same feel if they did not at least allow for an R rating. But yeah, definitely, I feel like there is potential that they are going to tone this down as far as the sexual innuendos and a bunch of other kind of shit. But I don't think it's going to be that toned down because I feel like Ryan Reynolds is just going to push the envelope with the script, and he owns that character, so I feel like pretty much whatever he says goes almost with it to an
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah, I think if they'd tried to do Deadpool now PG, it wouldn't work. If we didn't have this movie and then the sequel, they maybe could have got away with it and like had that fourth wall breaking, wisecracking element, but like obviously not as sexual and violent. But I think
Yeah.
now that we've seen it that way, if they tried to pull that back, there would be a lot of like uproar of like, this isn't Deadpool. What are you doing?
Yeah, 100%. This is like there's already like the form for it and the mold
Yeah, you've
for it.
set
You
the
can't
precedent.
change it.
Like you've set the precedent of this is what the character is. He's very in your face, very risque. We've got to keep
Yeah.
it that way.
Hmm.
So in terms of the casting and everything. Like I mentioned, Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool, who is, as he quotes, a bad guy who gets paid to fuck up other bad guys or worse guys. So I think
Yes.
that's a cool play on like he's kind of a superhero, but he's really not. And Colossus is constantly trying to make him, hey, come join the X-Men, be a good guy. Uh,
Yes.
the difference between a villain and a superhero is 4 or 5 moments. Like you just got to pick those 4 or 5 moments to do the right thing, and you are a superhero. Which I think is where Deadpool and Wolverine is going to play into it a lot more. Like I think his 4 or 5 moments, he's going to have a few of those in this upcoming movie
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
save this universe from becoming a clusterfuck.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be really fun. I really do enjoy the banter that they have, that Colossus and Deadpool have in this film, where he's just like, "I know you're a good guy inside. Like, I know you want to be good," and it's like, "I don't. People fucked me over. Why do I want to be good?" But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
he's
fun.
very like self-centered and selfish in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what the motivations behind this journey are.
Yeah,
He doesn't care that he's killing all these people and whatever. Like he's not trying to help anyone else. He's just wants revenge.
yeah, 100%.
And yeah, we mentioned he's riddled with late stage cancer. I did love the what's Spanish for cancer?
Oh no.
El cancer.
Oh, it's gonna be like, let me go grab my kid. Hold on. Let me see if her Spanish class actually worked so well.
Yeah. He asks Weasel, like, do you know what the Spanish is for cancer? And he's like, no, el cancer.
Ay, ay, ay.
And yeah,
But
we learn that because we see him doing all of these crazy like military things, and he's really good with guns and like the fight sequences. We're like, what is this guy's background? And you sort of come to piece together that he was in the special forces,
yeah.
but was dishonorably discharged. And I can't like I haven't watched Deadpool 2 yet. I can't remember if like that's explained like why he's dishonorably discharged. Is it just
It's
because
been a minute.
he can't follow rules? But that'll be interesting to see if they continue that in Deadpool 2, and then if they sort of give us a bit more background on him in Deadpool and Wolverine, because obviously that's going to have all these different timelines. Are we going to go back to like baby Deadpool?
Yeah, that'll be weird. Yeah, cuz I don't it's been a minute since I've seen the second one. I'm going to end up watching the second one here shortly. And yeah, I don't really remember, to be fair, I don't remember a whole lot about the second one other than the villain that is in the second one. That stuck out to me.
I can't.
Um
Yeah,
I'm not spoiling anything until we rewatch it, cuz yeah, it's one of my favorite villains that I think has ever really been on screen. So,
yeah. I think that sort of says a lot about the two movies that we've had so far. Like when I think of Deadpool, I'm just thinking in my head. All I'm getting is like Deadpool 1. Like Deadpool 2 wasn't. I enjoyed Deadpool 2 from what I remember, but I don't remember much of it.
and see, I think the villain, yeah, when we rewatch it, you'll understand, because yeah, the villain in Deadpool 2 for me is a stronger villain, and I think that's why I liked it so much, and why I'm so happy that they've progressed and they're still continuing with the Deadpool series, because it was just such a good continuation of it. It just built it took from what the first one was and just made it even better for me.
Yeah, like the villain in this one, Francis, also known as Ajax, played by Ed Screen. He's just a dude. He's just a guy.
Yeah,
It's like there's no sort of greater stakes to this story. It's just he's the one that mutated me, and he's the one I got to fuck up. Okay,
yeah.
cool. The other important character is Vanessa, played by Marina Baccarin. She's Wade's fiance, and I didn't realize that she's actually from the comics. She is a superhero as well.
I didn't
Her
know that either.
Yeah, her alter ego is Copycat, and they don't reference that at all in this movie.
Huh.
They apparently did that on purpose. They just felt that it complicated the story a bit too much, so maybe she gets brought in the upcoming movies. They did sort of
I
have some sort of slight references and allusions to the Copycat character, though, with the makeup designer Bill Corso used a lot of blue in her makeup, which is a
Mm-hmm.
reference to the comics characters' outfit and stuff like that. So makes sense.
I didn't. That it does make sense because I feel like if they were to throw that in there, like if you didn't really know the comics all that well, like when you look at Deadpool, even if you didn't know the comics, like you know he is a superhero. But if you've never read the comics and they introduce like another side character in there, and she's another main lead character, it's gonna just get messy, I think. So it was a smart idea, I think, on their part, especially because they needed like a damsel to be saved in a sense, and something to also motivate um the whole storyline essentially, other than just, exacting revenge for himself, but they needed like additional
Yeah,
additional leverage.
and yeah, I think it's a nice little Easter egg for people that are comic fans. Like they would have seen her and be like, "Oh, that's copycat." Oh, are we going to see more of that? But it also leaves them runway to explore the story more as well further down the line.
Hmm.
Um, Other main characters: T.J. Miller as Deadpool's sort of best friend, Weasel. He's there. He doesn't really do much. He's just a side character to sort of help progress the
Yep.
story. It gives Deadpool his name. That's probably the main thing. From they pull it from the betting
The
pool to see
board.
which
Yeah.
mercenary is going to die first. So
Right. Yeah. Let's make bets.
we also have Gina Carano as Angel Dust. What a what a disappointing fall in her
For
career she
her.
had.
Oh yeah.
She went from being in Deadpool and Star Wars to pretty sure she said some real racist shit and then is now
Crickets.
doing nothing. Like,
Yeah,
good on
not a
you.
lot of people want to work with her.
You were in Disney's two biggest properties and fucked it all up. What are you doing?
Yeah, she had a lot of potential, and now it's just like people kind of see her, and it's almost like all the red flags in the world, and like it sucks because obviously it's all, everybody is about freedom of speech, and you're all entitled to your own fucking opinion, but at the same time, you kind of have to remember your audience and the fact that you are in a public eye, and even though it is freedom of speech, like things that you say are going to have an impact on your career, whether they be positive or negative.
You also work for Disney, who are one of the most like PC stay in
Yeah.
line companies. Like they're not going to take that.
No, no, you're replaceable, and that's how I look at everything. Like everybody is replaceable, and clearly, like I kind of forgot she was even in Deadpool. Like I remember her from Mandalorian, and that's pretty much all I remembered her from.
Season 1 of Mandalorian, and that's it.
Yeah, just that's it. And I was just like, okay, she's whatever. Like she looked like she had potential, and then she did some stupid shit, and I'm like, all right, well, no loss.
Yeah. I enjoyed the sort of back and forward between her and Colossus in the final battle as well. Like they're fighting, but then a tit pops out, and Colossus is like, "Oh, put that
He's
away."
just so innocent. Like I love Colossus because he is just like he's such a gentleman, and it's so funny. And it's just like I said, it's a very day and night between him and Deadpool with the way that they react around everything. Because Deadpool would have been like, "Ooh, boobies," and Colossus is like, "Oh my god, no,
Fix that, fix that, fix that.
please fix it."
So that makes me hopeful too that in Deadpool and Wolverine with multiple storylines, we might come across alternate timeline Angel Dust, and then Colossus can
Mm.
sort of have his little romantic moment again.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who else have we got in here? Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic Teenage Warhead,
Which is a really long-winded superhero name.
which they chose this character specifically because of that name because they thought it sounded cool.
Yeah, it's a
But
mouthful.
by doing that, they had to actually change this character's abilities from what they are in the comic.
Oh, fun.
So she's basically based on. There's another character that. Did I write down the name?
If not, I'd be disappointed. You're all about your damn notes.
I didn't. So she's based on another character that like has the abilities that she has.
Mm.
Um, but they didn't want to use that character because it had like a boring name, which is probably why I didn't write it down.
Ah.
So they had like a crappy name. She had Negasonic Teenage Warhead, but her abilities in the comics are she's a telepath.
Okay.
So they're like, "Oh, she's got a cool name, but her abilities are very similar to like Professor X and a bunch of other
Yeah.
characters. So like we don't really want to use her. So they changed her to being a literal warhead. But to do that, they had to get specific permission from Marvel because they're obviously
Altering.
reworking a Marvel character. So
Yeah.
they had to come to a deal where 20th Century Fox would give Marvel the rights to Ego, the living planet, to use in
Mm-hmm.
Guardians. And
That
then
makes
in
sense.
return, they got to change the character.
Oh, okay. That's a really interesting little fun fact I did not know.
Yeah, the day I was reading, I was like, oh, that's funny that they just
Yeah.
totally took this Marvel character and were like, we're going to keep the name, but we're
But we're just
changing
gonna
everything
completely
about her
rework.
instead of just creating a new
Yeah,
character.
that's funny.
And then I also wrote down that she has the X-Men suit from Wish in the final showdown.
It is pretty bad.
I looked at it like,
Like so
it's
rough.
kind of the X-Men suit, but it's a cheap knockoff
Not.
X-Men suit.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Like she looks very underwhelmed with her outfit. Like, why am I fucking in this? It's
Yeah.
really uncomfortable. I don't want this.
I think she gets a better suit in 2.
Yeah, I believe so.
A
Yes.
much more like accurate X-Men suit in 2. And then
Yeah.
I'm assuming she's going to be in Deadpool Wolverine. I've like tried to stay as
Out of it.
like unspoiled. Like I've seen one trailer and I was like, that's enough.
Yeah, I've only watched the first trailer that came out for it, and I think there's a second one that's come out now, but I have not watched anything other than like the very first trailer that we got for it.
I watched it when it played. Good story. I watched it when they played it at Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
The theater I was in initially had no sound.
Oh, good.
So it's playing with no sound. I'm like, oh, this sucks because I'd already seen it. So like I was like, we're missing the music cue here. And then when the sound came on, it was like totally fucking wrong, fucked up sound. And I was like, okay, so 2 people like ran out and like, sound in this
Fuck.
theater's all fucked up. And then they finally fixed it right as the trailer was like 2/3 of the way through. And I was like,
Oh
oh,
my
damn,
god.
that sucks.
You're like, well, oh well.
Yeah. So I've
Womp
seen it
womp.
twice. Once the right way, once totally fucked up. So, you know.
That's great. Yeah, I kind of hope she's in it because I feel like she's kind of like a baby bird with Colossus as the mother bird when it comes to her. Like he is pushing her to make right decisions and like, oh no, you don't want to do that. It's the same thing he does with everybody else. He's just like, no, don't worry.
Thinking about it, I think that might be the motivations for this story. Like Deadpool and Wolverine are
Oh.
working together
Mm-hmm.
to save Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Maybe. I guess we'll find out.
Like Deadpool finally does a cool thing and a good thing because he's trying to save the guy that he really doesn't like.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, fine, I'll help.
Sorry. I apologize in advance if you hear the little fucker in the background. It's 4th of July and people are shooting off the booms because America. He's a pain in the butt. Sorry.
And then we also have Leslie Uggams as Blind Owl, Deadpool's roommate. She's fun. I'm glad that she's
She's hilarious. I love
in the new
her.
one.
She's wonderful. She's like what everybody should have as a roommate, like just a blind old lady who tells you what the fuck's wrong with you.
You're saying everybody should have cocaine addicts as their roommate?
I mean, she doesn't fucking bother anybody. She just has fucking cocaine hidden around the house, and then she kind of forgets where it
And
is
guns.
because she can't. And whatever. She didn't hurt nobody, did she? She just mind her own business. She's a real G.
She's just trying to build her IKEA while blind. Not well.
I mean, if I were to go blind, I'd still try and do that. Just saying.
You can't do it with vision.
I build IKEA furniture like no one's business. That's why you didn't let me into IKEA when I came to visit you.
Yeah, okay.
I would have tried to get home fucking all these IKEA furniture on a goddamn airplane.
And then lastly, we had 2 cameos in this movie. 2 main cameos. Stan Lee cameoing as a DJ in a strip club.
Super great.
It was good. And Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, is in the bar at the start. He is Buck in the bar.
Oh, okay. I never
And
would have known that.
yeah, like Deadpool walks in and goes, "Well, hey, Buck," and then like keeps walking in. That's Rob Liefeld, the creator. And also
Cool.
in the opening title credits, when like in that slow mo and like the camera's moving through the scene,
Mm-hmm.
the coffee cup that
Mm-hmm.
shows up says Rob L on it.
Oh yeah.
That's like another nice little
That's
reference
funny.
to him. So that's cool.
I like that.
And I love that opening credits too. Like it immediately sets the tone of we're gonna call shit out. We're gonna just like poke fun at the whole MCU superhero comic movie
Oh yeah.
stuff. Like that's cool. Like all
I
of
yeah.
the like actors' names are just like that sexy guy. This one, the guy
Mm-hmm.
that
I
wrote
love
this thing, the
that's such a
writers, the
fun
real
thing.
heroes of this story.
Right?
Um,
I love it.
and I loved that we also see a Green Lantern like trading card in that moment as well. I'm like immediately of like, okay, so we're definitely referencing all of this like shit that
Bad shit.
uh, Ryan Reynolds did and Fox tried to do and did poorly. So we're gonna really break the walls down. Like, okay, we're gonna really joke about everything. Nothing's off limits.
No, I love the fact that Ryan Reynolds can literally just like throw in like jabs at the Green Lantern anytime and anything, and he has no qualms about it. He's like, he just accepts it was a shit fucking movie, but a great, like, it was a payday regardless, but it was trash.
Especially like later when he's going through the mutation
Hmm.
process, and he's like, "Whatever you do, don't make the superhero suit green or
Yeah,
animated."
right. It was crazy. Fun fact: I've never seen Green Lantern. It's been
Neither
on
did I. I heard
Netflix
it
like
was terrible. I
multiple
was like, "Whoop."
times. Yeah, I've never had a desire to see it. I've like seen it pop up on Netflix. I've seen it pop up on like Hulu at one point, and I'm just like, yeah, skip. Nope. Mm-mm.
Greenland's DCU is DC, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it is. So they must have got. That's. I'm shocked that they got that because it's
Mm.
DC. It's in a Marvel movie. Like they have to have got permission from DC to put that character in, like the trading card at least, because
Yeah,
they straight up show Green Lantern in that.
I mean,
Like
DC
all of
probably
the
doesn't want to fucking acknowledge it at this point, so they're probably just like, yeah, if you want to go ahead and do it, but whatever, we're not
yeah,
gonna give a shit.
all of the other bits and pieces are like, if you know, you know. But like
Right.
have that card in there, they obviously had to get permission for that. So that's cool.
That's fun.
I'm shocked that they gave them permission to do that. Like, yeah, that's fine. Put it in there. Take the piss out of us.
We understand. It's fine.
Um, and on that opening credits too, the way that they were with the sort of placeholder names and stuff, that was only supposed to be a placeholder. It was never
Oh,
supposed to be the released version.
oh, good. I love that they kept it then.
Yep.
That
So,
one guy, that other guy.
yeah. And then yeah, Tim Miller, the director, like found the parody titles to be that funny. He was like, just leave that in there.
Not
Not
Hugh Jackman.
yeah,
I think one of them says not Hugh Jackman.
let's not go in and like actually fix it. And then because of that, they didn't have to like follow the Actors Guild and like all of the um what are they called? Union agreements and like specifics of requirements of like, okay, this is what you have to do when you do title sequences. Like because they
Oh,
weren't actual names, it didn't matter.
yeah. That's funny. They got away with a lot of shit then. That's hilarious to me.
Are you a trading card collector or a fan of Australian pro wrestling? If so, you're not going to want to miss out on the limited edition Australian wrestling cards. Each set includes 50 packs of 10 cards, including some of the country's top wrestling talents like Robbie Eagles, Shane Haste, Madison Eagles, Hartley Jackson, and they have Shaza McKenzie listed, although she is not a favorite. The velocities, and a lot more. There's wrestlers, referees, announcers, commentators that are featured, giving you a full appreciation of the Australian independent scene. The cards sold out a lot faster because cards are hot right now, as I'm sure Jeremy Lambert will tell you. But you can order your Australian wrestling cards now at Pario Magazine. That's PARIO magazine.com.au/AUS WRES cards. Follow Australian Wrestling Cards on social media at AusWrestCards for updates. Join the hundreds of fans who have already discovered the excitement of Australian wrestling cards.
When they do like start to have that first like battle sequence and we go back and see it all play out, they straight up call people mutants. I was like, this is going to be a very important element as we move into Deadpool and Wolverine coming into the MCU proper. The X-Men are name dropped and referred to consistently. We even visit Xavier's school for gifted youngsters in this movie. So like this Deadpool Wolverine movie is going to be so important for really pushing those elements into MCU proper.
I feel like they really took a chance when they were introducing all these random spots that everybody would recognize as being MCU and X-Men. And they, at the time, I don't even know if they really expected to be able to incorporate both at one time, but I'm glad that they did, because it was kind of just like the foreshadowing, like, hey, eventually they are going to pop up and this is going to happen.
Well,
but it was taking a risk.
Yeah, they weren't necessarily going to, because at that time, Fox owned the rights to X-Men.
Right. So
like at that point, that's why when you go back and you sort of see early MCU movies, they don't call them mutants. They call them like Inhumans or something like weird like that. Like,
yeah, it's very strange, but
they have been incorporating it slowly, like the Ms. Marvel show, like that was the first one where we got the X-Men theme played, and she specifically was like, I'm a mutant.
Yeah.
So that was the first time, and now I think this movie is going to be the mainstream, like, we're in a movie now, and this is like, how can you not say, oh, there's mutants? Like, fucking Wolverine's right there.
Yeah, correct.
Like, and he's an X-Man. Like, they're in here.
It's inevitable. I love the fact that they did take that risk, and they were just like, we're optimistic. I feel, they took a big chance and it worked out great, because here we are. We're about to get like the best collaboration ever now. That people have just been waiting for it. And people who are fans of the comic books, I feel like all of them have just been waiting, and like this is their moment that they've all been waiting years and years for. It's finally happening, where Wolverine and Deadpool are on the same screen together.
Well, I think like everybody's always wanted like the X-Men to be included in the MCU, and obviously with the right situation, it was very difficult at the time. But then when Disney purchased Fox, as soon as that happened, everyone was like, okay, when are we getting the X-Men? Like, we need the X-Men in there. As soon as it happened, people were like, forget all the plans, like fucking get them in. And Disney's like, no, hang on, we've got to finish this runway first before we can start incorporating that plane.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, like the three original ones that stick in my head, like I just call them the three main ones or whatever. Like when I go back and rewatch them, I'm like, they weren't terrible. But now that, Disney has them, and they did such a great job with the original like MCU phases, I'm just like, I got a lot of hope for X-Men to be rebooted and be fantastic and even better than what they were before. Because when they came out, they were really fun and everybody really enjoyed it. But, comic book movies weren't a really popular thing originally. So they didn't really have a whole lot to go off of as far as like, pleasing their audience. And they didn't really know if it was going to even take off really well, because nerds were not taking over the world at that time like they are now.
Mm-hmm. And like, I think with the experience recently of X-Men 97, I think Disney clearly know what people like about X-Men. Like, they know they're not going to try and use elements from those Fox movies. I think they're just going to brush those aside, start fresh, and follow more of that X-Men 97 animated series tone with the X-Men coming into the MCU, which I think you can clearly see with Wolverine's suit in the upcoming movie.
Yeah.
And also looking back on this one, rewatching it, it's kind of prophetic that Deadpool himself talks about the multiple timelines and that sort of alternate universe stuff, where Colossus says to him, come, we're going to go see Charles. And Deadpool turns around and goes, which Charles? are we going to go see McAvoy or Stewart?
Yeah.
Because these timelines are confusing me.
It's great.
That's a cool one.
Yeah.
And then in the post credit, we also have him ask, "What did you expect? Did you expect Sam Jackson to show up or something?"
Which is fantastic.
And then,
Like, it's just crazy the amount of stuff that like got thrown in there that you don't really think of at the time. I don't think you just, it's just one of those things that's like, and you hear it and it goes in one ear and out the other. Then when you rewatch it and really think on it, you go, wait a second.
like, yeah, Fox obviously had to get permission to do a lot of that stuff, but I think it was sort of, it was put in there obviously with the hope that maybe one day these will connect, but there was no guarantee that that was ever going to happen until Fox ran out of money and had to be purchased.
Yep.
And then, yeah, in the post-credit, Deadpool also talks about, in the next one, we're going to have cable and time traveling. It's like, okay, cool. Yep. I imagine cable's going to be in the next one as well, like Deadpool and Wolverine to help with the time travel stuff.
I would hope so.
His whole power.
Yeah. Cable's wonderful. I love Cable.
We also talked about it being incredibly violent, gory, and sexual. It's like the line, I don't think I'd ever say this, but don't swallow. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, when I was going to get ready to rewatch this, my daughter has been begging me for years to watch Deadpool, and I'm just like, nah, you're not old enough. No, it's not really for you. It's not really for kids. And then I remember messaging you. I'm just like, you think it'd be okay for her to watch it now? Like, I think it's all right. And you were just like, no. And I go, nah, it can't be that bad. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, she literally pegs him in this movie. Like, National Women's Day or Women's Independence Day. And I'm just like, yep, I totally forgot about that entire sequence in my head. And the fact that she's a stripper. So
I think it's like, really only that first 20 minutes where you're like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. And I'm just like, so yeah, she still keeps asking me to do it. And I'm just like, no, maybe the Christmas special, which I've never seen either, but everybody tells me it's really toned down.
Can't remember, but yeah. Yeah, that first like 20 minutes, yeah. I would never say this, but don't swallow. There's allusions to him masturbating. Yeah, she pegs him. It's like, oh, yep, okay, that's very sexual. Be interesting to see how much of that carries over.
Yeah.
Because in terms of like the violence, like we see one of the bad guys on the motorbikes, he gets decapitated via flying motorbike chain. Another one goes splat onto the road sign. Multiple people get shot in the head and see the brain matter explode out the back with the exit wound.
Yeah.
I hope that part is maintained in the upcoming one, because if that doesn't, like, especially with Deadpool, who in this one is clearly incredibly violent, and then Wolverine is another one who's always been like crazy violent. So hopefully that carries over.
Yeah, that'll be really fun.
We also
the opening sequence is one of my favorites, honestly.
Oh, that opening sequence is great. That's I think that's one of the strongest parts of the movie. That and then the final sequence.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit in the middle where it does lose its way a little bit. It's like, okay, it's dragging. Let's hurry this along.
Yep.
We also have Wade when he's having the conversation with Colossus, and Colossus is like, "Come on, you need to join the X-Men." And Wade says, "The day I finally decide to become a member of the X-Men, I'll send you a friend request." I wouldn't be shocked if we either see that in Deadpool and Wolverine, where he finally does send him a Facebook friend request, or if after the movie we get like a social media post of
Colossus and
Deadpool sending Colossus a friend request or something, and Colossus getting the message and be like, "He did it! He finally did it!" And Negasonic sitting there being like, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
They're definitely gonna incorporate that somehow. There's no way that they're not going to. There's so much thought that goes into these movies, and it's so well planned. And with Ryan Reynolds, like he encompasses all of Deadpool. Like that has become his whole personality at this point. I think to the point where like
pretty much every movie he does now, he's Deadpool. without.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's even releasing, and I really want to get a bottle of it. They're releasing a limited edition aviation gin bottle that's like Deadpool and Wolverine themed. And I want it just for the damn bottle, don't get me wrong. But like the fact that like you're taking your gin business and you're incorporating like your character that you've definitely owned, you can just see how much he actually cares about that role, and you know he's got like all the different says in it, honestly.
Well, it's smart because I think this could potentially be the biggest movie of this year.
Oh, for sure.
And mentioned the boys a little bit earlier. The super serum that is used to turn Wade into the mutant Deadpool, that was very much the inspiration for Compound V in the boys.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
saw it and I was like, oh, yep, that's definitely Compound V.
That's yeah, you're not wrong.
I also like that after he has the treatment and he becomes all scarred and he goes to Weasel and he reveals his face. I love the, you look like an avocado had sex with an older, uglier avocado.
Yep.
That's a gross description of a person.
Yeah, between that and then like there's the scene where like his hand's been blown off, so it's like growing back and it's like a little baby hand. Little baby hand. And it's like it reminded me of,
is your hand really small?
it just reminded me of that whole like Butler and Scary movie where he's got like the wonky little hand. That's all I can think about. Yeah.
What else? I wrote down hashtag drive by fart.
Oh my god.
That part made me laugh. The fight choreography I thought was, and the gun, like the gun fu moments, they're cool. Was the fight, I feel like the fight choreographer in this is a wrestling fan, maybe just a little bit.
It's quite possibly. I mean, we've seen certain things mimic other moves in other shows, so wouldn't be surprised.
Well, in this one, there's a German suplex. Like Deadpool drops Francis on his head with a German suplex.
Yeah.
He catches him in a head and arm triangle choke, which is AKA an anaconda vice. There's a V trigger later in the movie as well. It's like, hey, V trigger. And then Angel uses a flying armbar on Colossus.
I just like how most people who are watching this movie would not put two and two together. You, on the other hand, you're like, I'm a wrestling nerd, and I'm going to look at this and be like, oh yeah, look.
I was like, hey, German suplex.
Yep. But I had that moment too when we were watching Echo, and I was just like, did she just suplex somebody on a pinball machine? And I think that was like one of your proud moments for me. But yeah, it's just one of those things where on occasion you'll recognize something, and when you go to like rewatch things, you definitely realize it at that point. And I'm just like, most people wouldn't say that, but Jamie would.
Yep. And then there's a bunch of pop culture references in here as well. Like they don't just poke fun at MCU and superhero movies in general. There's a lot of other references, such as Deadpool teabags someone. I was like, that takes me back to the Halo days. Every time you killed someone, you'd run up and teabag because they had to watch the replay. And it was like, sucked in. Teabagged you, bitch.
Yep. Oh my god, I can't.
In the scene where Wade goes to see the creepy stalker bloke, the pizza delivery guy, he's wearing a, did you notice his shirt?
No.
It's a B. Arthur shirt. So it's a nice Golden Girls reference.
It's a Golden Girls reference. I didn't even see that.
I thought you would have picked that one up.
I didn't take down any notes because I'm me and I don't note things at all. I just kind of wing it, but there are.
I'm sure you picked up some of the others. He's wearing an Adventure Time watch when he's waiting for the bad guys sitting on the overpass.
Yeah.
He talks about Freddy Krueger.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about Batman and Robin. And
yes.
Basically, he's like, pretty sure Robin loved Batman too. Because he says, blind owl, you're the Robin to my Batman, and you love me. And I'm pretty sure Robin loved Batman too. Like, yep,
yeah,
I get that vibe.
Aye.
He calls Negasonic Teenage Warhead, hey, Ripley from Alien 3.
Yes. That one I remember specifically. And when we watched Alien 3, I was like, yep, 100%. That's exactly what she looks like with her shaved head. And now that you've seen it, you get that fucking reference, which is fantastic for me.
I got it at the time. Like, I know what Ripley looked like.
It just didn't, yeah, but it doesn't make sense unless you watch it in its entirety.
There's obviously the IKEA moment where she's building the IKEA. Deadpool spoils the movie 127 hours.
Oh.
When Colossus has him in the handcuffs and is dragging him along.
Oh.
And he goes,
wait.
127 hours, spoiler, and then cuts his own wrist off. I'm like, oh, yep, that's a spoiler.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've never seen that movie. I know what it's about, and I never put two and two together until you
should
just
watch
said
it. It's
that.
good. It's a good movie.
I've heard it's good. It's always been on my to watch list.
And then the post-credit scene is a play on the Ferris Bueller's Day Off scene with the bathrobe.
Yes.
What else did we get? Oh, and this movie gave me my new favorite insult.
Oh no. Oh.
You look like a shit spackled Muppet fart.
I hate you.
I was like, that's the best.
There's so many things you could learn from Deadpool. Please don't take any of them. Please just ignore all of them.
The last 2 weeks I've been watching stuff and got 2 new sayings. So I got shit spackled Muppet fart.
Oh boy.
And then I was watching Wrestle Radio Australia and Jeff was asked about if he cared about something. And he goes, do I look like I give 2 cups of fuck? I was like, yeah, that's great. That's a good one.
2 cups of fuck. That works. Love it. Love it.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It's a fun rewatch. I'm excited to watch 2. I'm hoping Deadpool Wolverine lives up to my expectations. From the trailer
really
so
do
far,
too.
I think it will.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've had anything with Wolverine in it. I'm really excited to see him back in the suit, come back and be in full action. As much as I love Hugh Jackman and the Wolverine part of X-Men and all that stuff, my favorite version of Wolverine is still in the Logan movie. Like,
I hope they incorporate some of that into this.
It would be fantastic. It's the most raw fucking film for Wolverine that I think they could have ever done, and it's one of my favorite films. But
I could totally see like one of the random like they might not spend much time there, but I could see like one of the random timelines they go through briefly. The portal and it's black and white and they're like, ooh, we're not supposed to be here, and leave.
Yeah, just like joop joop, and then that'll be it. But yeah, that's like I said, I love Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman is fantastic. He owns that role. Like nobody could ever replace him as Wolverine, and the day that they need to is going to be sad for me, I think. But yeah, the Logan film is one of my favorite films.
And speaking of that trailer, we see there's Lady Deadpool is in that trailer. We don't know who plays her. I'm assuming it's going to be Blake Lively.
Yeah, rumor has it it's going to be, which would be really
There
fun.
was a rumor that it was someone much more famous.
I'm aware of who it, yeah.
But I don't.
There's been a lot of rumors.
I can't imagine they got her.
No, there's been a lot of rumors about a lot of different people being in this movie, and I'm just like excited to see what ones are real and what ones aren't at this point.
Yeah. I highly doubt it's going to be Taylor Swift.
I would like her to just be in some form of this movie.
Sense.
She makes more sense. However, they are like really good friends, so she could still get her cameo appearance and just wear her sparkly boots and make my little Swiftie heart happy.
And we also see in the trailer Dogpool as well, who has a nice little like background reference in this one. At the bar, there's a dog on the like a shelf in the Deadpool outfit, so that's Dogpool.
Yep, which is really funny. I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Based on the performance of this one, so this one had a budget of $58 million, ended up finishing with a box office of $782.8 million.
Insane.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, what, 16 times the budget almost?
It's nuts.
And I'm assuming 2 did better than it as well. because at the time this was the 9th highest grossing film of 2016, which shows
Yeah.
how crazy box office numbers were in 2016 compared to
Yeah.
like this year. Movies are lucky if they crack 100 mil.
Yeah, I think it really just has to deal with that whole streaming services taking over everything now because
Well, this was probably in the cinemas for like 8 weeks, if not
yeah,
more. Now you're lucky
because
to
that
get
used to be the
2.
thing. Yeah, that used to be the thing. You used to be able to go to the cinema like 2, 3 weeks after it was released, and they still had like tons of showings for it, especially bigger movies like this. Like when like the first set of Avengers movies came out, they were in theaters for months, and you could easily just go and see them at any time of the day that you wanted to. And then now you see with like the newer ones that come out, they're in for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then automatically they just either go to a streaming service or they get taken out and they're going to go to the streaming service shortly thereafter.
I
It's
think
nuts.
that's the biggest issue. It's the
Mm-hmm.
yes, they're not in cinemas for as long, so obviously you're going to crunch down on the potential earnings for the box office. But
Yeah.
then also the fact that a lot of people look at it and go, "Yeah, it'll be on streaming in like 3 weeks." I'll
Yeah,
just
because I
wait.
do that now. I'm guilty of doing that all the time, especially when it's like certain ones. Like when I see an A24 movie coming out, I'm like, oh, well, I know they have a contract with Max, so it'll be there soon. I did the same thing with Dune because Dune Part 2 was released, and then within like 3 weeks, it was like, oh, coming to Max in a month. And I'm like, all right, well, I know how I'm watching it.
Yeah, whereas like this one, it was probably in the cinemas for 6 to 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and
And then,
then there probably would have been like another 4 or 5 month gap before it hit a streaming service. So it was like everyone was like,
yeah.
"Let's go and watch. Let's go and watch."
And there wasn't as many streaming services in 2016. So like
There
with me,
was
I
what,
have
Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix was in Hulu maybe. With me, like I have Deadpool 1 and 2 on DVD. That's how I was watching Deadpool. And I have them like probably have them somewhere around here. So
That was
yeah,
another
it's
thing that I can't remember who it was. One of the like major actors did an interview and said like, yeah, that's another thing where movies used to have your box office income, and that would
Mhm.
be a nice chunk of change.
Yeah.
Then you would have a gap, and then you would have that secondary flood of income from home release of DVDs, videos,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And then you would get a third payday when a streaming service finally paid for it.
Yeah.
Now
'Cause-
you get 2 weeks of box office, and then it goes straight to streaming. There is
Yeah.
the DVD market doesn't really exist. Like you have your hardcore like collectors that want to have copies of everything.
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah, that's been crushed down. Box office
Yeah.
has been crushed down. Streaming
Mhm.
services probably not paying
Yeah, as much.
exorbitant fees for things. So it's like,
Right.
yeah, makes it harder to
It
make
is
a movie that's profitable now.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, but the numbers, I mean, for a movie too, like that's not like back then when it was not a Marvel movie, for it to do so well, and now you see movies that like DC cannot compete with Marvel with a lot of their movies that come out. So for that time frame to
Superman
have
looks good
made
though.
those money. Yeah, that well, it's one
Hopefully
of the
now,
most successful ones, but
yeah, hopefully now that they've got James Gunn running that part of the business, I think DC might finally sort some
start
shit
to
out.
yeah,
They have a
because
plan now. They're not just throwing
throwing
shit at
things.
the wall, see what happens. Letting
Yeah,
the
because
rock, letting the Rock say we're going to do this and we're going to totally change this character, and people are like, what the fuck is this?
well, they had to compete with Marvel because Marvel was releasing so many things. DC was being forgotten about, so they're just like, let's see what sticks to the wall. We've got to get numbers out. We've got to get something, because if we don't, we're just gonna continue to be forgotten about, essentially. But
I did see
it is
recently that The Flash, which was pretty much a box office flop,
yeah,
has been super popular on Netflix recently.
I
Now that
haven't watched
it's
The
finally
Flash.
on streaming, and everyone's like, this is actually not too bad.
Oh, there's a bunch of shit I missed. I missed The Flash. I missed Blue Beetle. Black
That's
Adam.
on
I
Netflix
haven't
now too.
watched. I didn't watch the last Aquaman that came out either. Like, I didn't care for any. None of them have been super like intriguing to me.
I like The Flash. The Flash was cool.
Okay,
Um,
we'll see.
and
I
then
might watch it when I get bored.
the last couple of things I wrote down here were, Box office 782.8 million, made it the highest grossing film in the X-Men series, which is crazy because it's not even X-Men. Like it doesn't even
But
have
it
X-Men
has X-Men
branding.
in it.
Yeah.
It just has X-Men in it.
And then it was at the time the highest grossing R-rated film. So I imagine 2 pipped it, and then possibly something else later down the line.
Yeah. Good.
So yeah, really enjoyed Deadpool. Keen for our rewatch of Deadpool 2 next
Yes.
week, and then Deadpool versus. No, it's not Deadpool versus. It's just
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
In terms of a rating, what would you give 2016 Deadpool?
Oh, it's a 5 for me. I can rewatch Deadpool any day that you ask me to. It's fun. It's, it's a comic book movie that I'll always go back to.
I gave this one a 4 because of that weird like bit in the middle. Like I don't think this needed to be. I think what's the runtime? Nearly 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours.
It is an hour 48.
Yeah,
I think
so
we could have.
almost 2 hours.
I think we could have got away with like a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, there's a little bit that is stretched out, his whole like, finding himself kind of moment and just trying to like locate Vanessa and shit. Some of it is dragged out a bit, but they wanted to make sure that they put down, I guess, a good storyline for it. So
yeah, 4 out of 5 for me. But keen for Deadpool 2, keen for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Karina on Instagram at Miss Karina Renee, and you can follow me on social media at JamYups Media and at Pario Magazine. The commentary booth is a fan-funded production of JamYups Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/JamYups Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.